Well, that's so today I decided that this is my kickstart to what I'm calling the Charter Fundamentalist, because we're from Canada. Our foundation of our country was built on the Charter of Rights, and without fundamentals and implicating our Charter of Rights, you have you have nothing. My goal by doing this is a better society, a better creation of better policies that don't blow smoke up our yahoos and don't jeopardize people's values, their families, their jobs, for a better place to live. Because isn't really that the goal here, is a better life? We're all fighting, it seems like, to outdo each other for the almighty dollar that you can't take with you when you die. So what are we fighting for? I don't want to have to wake up every day and worry that I can't feed my daughter properly, or that the government thinks I'm incapable of doing that, because none of us are incapable of much. It's if you don't have a society of leaders that are leading by example, and that means following your own policies, your own procedures, your own laws, because this is what our country is built on. These are the fundamentals. Well, if you're wavering on the fundamentals, that causes homelessness, drug addiction, societal crime, societal issues. It stands to reason that when you're fighting over something so that you can make yourself appear better than your neighbor, well, who wants to just appear better? Why don't we all just be better? Be better people, be better neighbors, be better friends, be better husbands and wives. Isn't that the ultimate goal? Because what I see when I look around is I have the provincial government telling me initially, Christine, I'm sorry, but we are labeling you as disabled by way of mental health. Well, and that's when I said to myself, and this was 25 years ago, and I said to myself, okay, so what does that mean? You want to give me taxpayer money every month to do nothing, so the rest of society looks down on me in judgment, calls me lazy, fat, useless, good for nothing, whore, all these terrible, terrible things, which in turn injures it enhances my already instilled depression, because I'm at a level where I had parents, although they did the best they could, I guess, when you have parents who tell you you're no good, you'll never amount to nothing, you'll never be anyone, that's exactly what you'll be. And then you've got the government at 18, 20 years old telling you the exact same thing. That creates a mental health issue. How come you're not encouraging me instead and saying, you're better than this, don't worry, things can get better? We see a lot of other groups of individuals, and I'm not singling any groups or religions out by any means, but if, say for example, people who are from East India, you have a group of people who I see this all the time on public transit or in restaurants or in public, and they are, hey, how are you, in their own language. They greet each other, they hug each other, they welcome each other, and they may not even know each other personally, but they are part of a family of a foundational value, really. And what do you do in a family? You help each other. And this is why they are successful people in business and in family. And they say, I believe, and don't quote me, but I'm fairly certain that even though through prearranged marriage and such, they have fewer divorces, they have better family values, they have traditions still, they respect all their own people and other people, but their business sense comes from helping each other and working together. And isn't that what we're all here to do? Because we all are in existence. And in existence, if we're not working together, that existence will start to waver. People start veering. You start picking up different I don't want to call them values because they may not be good values, but in today's society, there is a lack of values, a lack of morals, a lack of standards, which is now creating detriment for the people. The people of Canada, literally, it's a who can get to the top and not give a crap about the person you're standing beside or the person underneath you. Where our fundamentals and our Charter of Rights, the Charter states everyone. That means you, me, my East Indian friend, my Muslim friend, all of us, because Canada is a melting pot of nations, essentially. And when you have a melting pot of nations, however, with all of our immigration and helping people from war-torn countries who are all fighting over power, money, corruption. Why aren't we fighting for the opposite? Why aren't we coming together and implementing the things in which Canada states we were created on? Because I didn't ask to be born, you didn't ask to be born, but we're here. So let's make the best of it, right? And we all have to live as one, and in the same communities, the same structures. And if they have a good success rate, they're successful business owners, more successful marriages. They have, I think, per capita, more intelligence because they have values, morals, traditions. I think Canada has lost their way on that. We become sidetracked by local politicians or just political figures who make us false promises of more of this, when we would all make more of this if we were working together, not working to be outdoing each other. I see Canada going to a place of potential war, potential potentially extreme violence, war, detriment, death. This is not what people want. I want to live. My children want to live. You and your families want to live. So if we go back to the beginning, because history is repeating. If you look back in time since Romans, since before Christ even, war has always been based upon religion, it's power, corruption, and somebody always wants to be number one. Well, we should all be number one because we as the people are one. Without the people, you'll only have one. And boy, that'd be a pretty lonely world, wouldn't it? We have a country that is a peacekeeping country. Canada states we're peacekeepers. Well, how about a little peacekeeping in Canada? Because we're willing to help people who come from places of war, discrimination, detriment, poverty, violence, and the common sense factors are there is no need for it. If we were all living by values, morals, traditions, as we used to be, because as a 48-year-old woman, I remember a time where we had no homelessness, or very, very little. And that homelessness was likely due to addiction, and the addiction was due to trauma caused by parents who had trauma from their parents. So generational trauma. And the cycle grew. And with generational trauma came child apprehension. And this, for myself, is the entirety of why I'm starting this YouTube channel, this following, because my ultimate goal here is to not blow smoke up anybody's yahoos, but to be real, to be following what our fundamentals as the people and the country decided since Canada became a country. I mean, the charter came into effect in 1982, which I find to be odd but I believe the fundamentals go way back to, I could be incorrect, and maybe I should do my research before I start the video. And I'm just gonna pause. I want to say, yes, I look rough today. I just woke up. I'm not going to sidetrack you with a mirror and smoke show in order to produce a message that somebody will hear. I think Canadians' ultimate goals should be based on our fundamentals and our rights, because without rights, we are slaves. And slavery, I thought, was abolished. I thought that this was the whole purpose. And this brings me back to what I was saying just a few minutes ago, that myself, I experienced generational trauma. However, I don't have the exact same morals, values, traditions as some of my family members. And I'll be honest, my family and I, we're not close. They followed the government's views on who I am and what I'm about, instead of being in my life and knowing what I am and what I stand for. And so we are different in that sense. However, this whole disability that in my early 20s was labeled, or I was labeled by government employees as having mental health issues, was generational trauma. Instead of saying, how do we fix this? Because the generational trauma created depression, created anxiety, created social anxiety. And instead of just feeding me a disability check every month for the last, since 2002, I've been on disability for supposed mental health issues, because I question the fundamentals and the rights, or my personal charter rights, with my government. How these are the things you came up with. And so when I challenge you on them, why are you telling me that makes me mentally ill? Isn't that part of the charter? Is my freedom of assembly, my freedom of speech, my freedom to life, liberty, and security of a person's, that I should be able to tell you if I don't agree with your social policy or the way that you label me, and which in turn has labeled my children, has had my 5-year-old apprehended by the government of Alberta. And that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to get into that today. We'll definitely be touching basis on that. But I know that we have, Trudeau has called for election. And I believe that with history repeating itself, we need to do something different here. We need somebody who's not going to blow that smoke and have a light show while they're doing something else over here, and we're paying for it. We, this year alone, had $40 million of our budget unaccounted for. Okay, I could understand being out $1,000, maybe 10,000 at the very most. Although, as a government entity and a federal government entity, your books should be at zero, or you should be able to account for every single cent. If you can't, then you keep on it until it balances, because as taxpayers, if we couldn't account for 10 grand, the government would audit us until we did. So how come it's okay for our policymakers to not follow policy and to come down on those who are funding the country's policies and programs, and they don't know where our money is? Regardless of mental health issues, supposed, it is that the statistics, in fact, are 98% of the world's population, I believe, has some form of mental health, not disease, but interruption, I'll call it. Whether it be temporarily depressed due to situational reasons, maybe it's a seasonal affective disorder. Maybe you are sick with a terminal illness that makes you depressed. Maybe you are scared to be part of a democratic society that won't allow you to be because they tell you you're not good enough. Aren't we all the same? Because the charter says everyone. It doesn't say just this group of guys or these group of people or you or them, but not you over there. That doesn't make any good sense. It's everyone. So as a peacekeeping nation, everyone should be together. I don't want to hear another politician promise me more jobs, because they're not there. They're not there, and they're there less for the original members or original constituents of Canada. And I'm not saying anything against any other groups, because I'm a peaceful person. I like everyone until you do something that harms me or my family. And we should be working together. I don't want to hear false promises. I don't want you to tell me that we're going to support oil companies that are a detriment to our environment, first of all, that we're We're paying through the nose for a necessity such as gasoline, diesel, fuels, so we can get to our jobs every day. Necessities for Canadians should be under the Charter. These are the fundamentals. If it's a necessity, like housing, healthcare, our children are the future. What's good for us now is not good for them in 50 years, because everything changes. Technology, it changes everything every day. Every day there is something new. A new type of vehicle, a new type of app, a new type of phone. We have to start training or implementing, would be a better word, implementing on these children morals, values, rights, fundamentals. Because without that, it creates no work ethic. It creates crime. It creates poverty. It creates bullying. It creates detriment. And detriment causes drugs, war, homelessness, death. And studies show people who are happier have less disease. There's less divorce. Kids are not bullying other children at school because they have these implemented values and these implemented fundamentals. And now we live in a society, 50 years ago was great. People were different. Look at in 1940, 1950s, you had the mom, apron on, pretty dress, acting like a lady, not getting drunk in a club and acting inappropriately, and bringing strange men home where her children are sleeping and bad things possibly happening. We had morals, values, things, standards. And I think over the years, we've become sidetracked by money. Money doesn't create happiness. Money creates evil. It creates crime, detriment. The government will jail organizations, and I'm not going to name them because you know who you are, independent subcontractors or organizations who end up in our jail system and labeled as criminals for trying to implement what the government is not implementing, which are these things such as traditions, morals, values, right? The fundamentals. I'm just going to call them the fundamentals, because the fundamentals should speak for the entire outline, really. I'm tired of hearing promises that we never see. I'm tired of going to the grocery store and spending $200 and it only feeding me for 5 to 7 days, if I'm lucky. That's obscene. But yet, we have 40 million unaccounted taxpayer dollars, and I'm paying $6 for a loaf of bread. And I can't feed my family. I can't pay my rent because my disability doesn't even cover what the minimal rent is in the province in which I live in. That doesn't make good economical sense. It doesn't make good people sense. It doesn't make good constitutional sense. It doesn't make good societal sense. If you can't afford necessities, and none of us asked to be here, so these are things that are part of the charter, because this is life, liberty, security. I shouldn't have to apply to my government to create a charter application, because my charter rights should be met automatically. That's the fundamentals. And things such as necessities are the fundamentals of life. You can't feed your children. That's a sad day, because I see people, single people, living in 5-bedroom homes, making a couple $100,000 a year off of people's detriment and their inability to pull themselves out of generational trauma that was caused by a government society that really didn't care about the people. We're the government. They call government organizations public bodies, but I sat and I thought about it the other day, and I thought, well, now that's discriminatory, because which is another violation of my human rights and my charter. We have discrimination. And I just lost my train of thought. But the bottom line is false promises are creating more corruption, more crime, it's causing a security risk for our peacekeeping country. And I don't want to have to worry every night when I go to sleep that I may get taken over by a militant group that decides they don't like my government's policies. And because my government may or may not have screwed them over or done something they dislike. I think it's a security breach that, again, goes back to the fundamentals in the charter. Now you are depriving me of security and possibly my life. And that's not what a real government is supposed to be. I don't want to blow smoke up anyone's wazoos and make promises I don't keep, and then have to be looking over my shoulder with a huge team of agents to watch my ass. And pardon my language, I'm trying to grasp the less existence of profanity when I speak. However, I shouldn't have a team that has to watch my ass because I made promises to people I am leading that I didn't follow through on. My constituents should be able to walk up to me at any time, anywhere, and be happy constituents. I understand you can't please everyone, but how about we try for once? And why don't we do it based on our fundamentals of our own Constitution, our own Charter of Rights, our international and national Charter of Rights, and the Children's Convention of Charter of Rights, and the Children's Act and so on and so forth. And let's go for something different. I want to see some real change happen in this country, because from what I'm seeing is we are going to end up at war torn. It may not happen tomorrow, may not happen in 20 years, but actually, something definitely tells me, with all the war going on, because you always have like your Gaza wars, and now we have our Russian-Ukrainian war, we have, what are we fighting about? Because somebody made a bunch of promises they didn't keep? Well, why don't we start making it about the people and not about the money? Because then we would have less, I bet you, well, we definitely would have less crime. We would have a better society of people. Because right now, society, I'm sorry to say, kind of sucks. If I had a heart attack and fell down on the sidewalk, I mean, in the town I live in, it's a smaller community, and people are different here, and they still have the implementation of morals and values. But I have a city not far away where if I had a medical crisis on the street, people would step over top of me and just keep going. Where's the humanity in that? And if you have no humanity, then you don't care about anything but you. And that doesn't create a solid family foundation. That just teaches your children hatred, bullying, trying to maybe steal to get more, because, well, you're a hater, right? Oh, well, this guy is doing better than me, so I'm pissed off about that. So I'm going to go jack him up, take his stuff, and now we got crime, okay? Well, what good is crime? Because that is depriving us ultimately of security, not just for me, for our families, for our country. And this is my first video. I'm going to continue to make videos because I have a lot to say about a lot. And I want to actually make some societal change in this country. I think it's time we start doing that, because nobody should be better than anybody. As the fundamentals state, everybody has the right. That's it. That's all. Have a good day.